Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to A Fine Time for Healing, a sanctuary for your emotional well-being. Your host is Randi Fine, author of the memoir Finally, and the inspirational self-help book Awaken from Life. And now, here's Randi.
Thank you for tuning in today to listen to A Fine Time for Healing. I am your talk radio show host, Randi Fine. Many of us grew up in an environment of abuse, just as I did, and as adults still struggled to come to terms with it. And just as it was for me most of my life, many of us know that there is a problem, but just can't seem to put our finger on exactly what that problem is. That is a typical outcome for those who have been parented by someone with a personality disorder. For those of you who are in relationships of any kind with someone you suspect suffers from this disorder, please continue to listen. Much of what I will say will apply to narcissistic personality disorder in general. The information will be beneficial to you in whatever relational situation concerns you. In the first show, I wanted to give you a background of NPD. So episode 1 was basically a clinical overview of what it is. In today's show, episode 2 of a 6-part series, I will continue the discussion on the general traits and characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder. And then after that, I'll be discussing the intricate facets of this disorder. And when I finish that, I will be talking about the dynamics of parent-child abuse. I will not be taking callers for any of the first 5 episodes because I have so much information to cover. But on Tuesday, May 7th, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will open up the entire show to callers. When I ended the show yesterday, I left off discussing the typical characteristics of those with NPD. So I'll start from there and finish talking about those characteristics. Narcissists are bullies. They use their rage to terrorize others, and then they enjoy watching them cringe. But they'll only do it when they think they can get away with it and are least likely to get caught. The terrorization is all about their need for power and control. They look for others' weaknesses and attack them when their defenses are down. Their punishments are painful, mentally and sometimes physically cruel. It is never a fair fight. The only tool the victim has is placation. This is how the narcissist gets what they want. They ruthlessly train others to fear them. They know how to get into others' heads, learn what makes them tick. They know exactly how the other person will react and how to hurt them. They keep a mental record of everything the other person does and says, and keep track of all the things they know are painful to the other person. They will treat others cruelly and then tell them that they are thin-skinned when they react. They harass and provoke, pushing the other person to react so they can then say, "Look at how crazy you're acting. I'm not the one with the problem, you are." and they'll intentionally use your defensive behavior against you by saying you are vengeful or you are trying to get retribution. Narcissists are very good at projecting and blaming. If they lie, they will accuse the other person of being a liar. They'll hurt you and accuse you of hurting them. They'll accuse a person of something and then deny it later on and say, I'm not like that, you are. When they're upset, it is always someone else's responsibility and someone else's fault. Whatever happens, they will never accept responsibility for it. And the harder the other person tries to hold them accountable, the worse the assault will be on them. They will distort, fabricate, or exaggerate to make their point, whatever they can think of to project their blame onto someone else. What they are really doing is mirroring themselves. The accusations and character assassinations they project onto others are a reflection of the narcissist's inner world. They'll call the other person unloving and selfish when it is they that are really unloving and selfish. The narcissist never gives a genuine apology. They may say something that resembles an apology, but they are imitating what they've seen others do in similar situations. They don't feel sorry for anything they do, and they don't care if they hurt you. If you listen carefully to the way they phrase their words of an apology, you will realize that they are not sorry at all. They never apologize because they never see themselves as being wrong. They will go out of their way to deflect all responsibility and put the blame on someone else. They also have a hard time accepting apologies from other people because they see it as an insult and denigration on their soul that you would even do anything wrong to them. They are superior, and no one has the right to treat them in a lesser fashion. Normal rules don't apply to the narcissist. They will break them when they feel they can get away with it. Ironically, they expect others to follow rules to the letter of the law, especially the ones they make for them. Narcissists have a difficult time with healthy relationships, primarily because of their lack of empathy, selfishness, sense of entitlement, and insatiable hunger for praise and attention. Though the narcissist can and will fake it at times, they truly have no interest in the experiences of their partner. As long as the partner keeps feeding them, the narcissist will keep faking it, but there isn't any true reciprocity. Another thing that makes relationships difficult for the narcissist is their poor or non-existent boundaries. They believe that others are extensions of themselves, and that others exist to meet their needs. Not that they are separate individuals with their own thoughts, desires, and needs. There is no respect for the privacy of others. To exist in a relationship with a narcissist, they must always live up to the narcissist's high expectations. Narcissists are not very fun. They have a poor sense of humor or none at all. They're unable to get jokes, and if they make jokes, they're generally sarcastic or flat. They do enjoy watching slapstick comedy where pain is being inflicted on someone else. They can see that others find things funny and will often use it as an opportunity to devalue the other person's taste using their haughty, high, and mighty way. And they're never able to laugh at themselves. The slightest joke at their expense will be met with narcissistic rage, an outburst of anger. Narcissists are notoriously bad at giving gifts. They may ask you what you want, pretend to be attentive and considerate, and then turn around and get you something other than what you wanted. They don't care enough to get you what they know you'll like. And they enjoy watching you get excited about something and then deliberately disappointing you. If a narcissist gives you money, understand that there are always strings attached. It may seem as if they only have the best intentions, but that is not why they do it. They do it to gain control over you. With all their so-called power and specialness, one would think that they have very high self-esteem, but that is not so. What you see is not what you get. They actually have a poorly defined sense of self and constantly feelings of inadequacy. Excuse me. By they, I am referring to their true selves, but that is a side of the narcissist we never get to see because their false self, their protector, is the face they show the world. Even the narcissist believes that the mask they wear is real. For all intents and purposes, they have disowned the parts of them that they don't like or can't bear to look at. The false self is strong and impenetrable. Its job is to absorb all the pain, hurt, and fragility, all the perceived attacks from the outside world. It keeps the narcissist from excruciating self-examination and introspection, from having to face fears that they may be less than perfect, that something is wrong with them. It hides their painful feelings and their feelings of inadequacy. It protects them from their authentic self, their insecure, damaged part, the part that had been manipulated, abused, or exploited in the past. Although they don't really know what causes this, so maybe they weren't manipulated, abused, or exploited in the past, but whatever it is, it's a damaged part. The false self is everything the true self isn't: grandiose, superior, and entitled. The false self tells the narcissist that everyone likes them, everyone is jealous of them, and everyone wants to be like them. It tells them that the rules apply to others, but because of their superiority, the rules do not apply to them. And when anyone tries to expose them for whom they are, the false self lashes out in atrocious ways that make others never want to cross them again. Narcissists don't really like people, but they need them in order to get their narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is the lifeblood of the narcissist. They cannot exist without it. They are like vampires who must always have a supply source and will do anything to get it. They feed on attention of any kind, whether negative or positive, but they prefer a diet of admiration, adoration, and approval. They will do whatever it takes to keep people around until they secure the entire supply source needed from them. Once supplied, the other person is useless to the narcissist. Narcissists have a language of their own. Their expressions must always be interpreted because they rarely mean what they say and say what they mean. This is yet another way that makes people feel like they're crazy when they're around them. Here are some common examples. I love you means one of two things. It can mean that they feel you pulling away and are trying to suck you back in, or that they've heard those words used by others and it seems to be an endearing way of manipulating you into loving them, or they just want you to say I love you back to them. Another thing they say, I never said that. It either means I'm trying to play with your head and make you feel crazy, or I'm never going to admit that I said that, or I don't want to talk about that right now. When they say, you are too sensitive, it means you won't tiptoe on eggshells when you're with me, or you won't let me abuse you. When they say, you never do anything for me, it means, so what if you've done things for me in the past? That doesn't count. You haven't done anything for me today. If they say, you aren't remembering correctly, it means, I like my version because it makes me look better. When they say, you have no respect for me, it means, I'm angry because you won't let me abuse you. Now, there are some phrases that are specific to narcissistic parents, and I'll give you a few of those. You were such a difficult child. means that you dared to put up boundaries that I couldn't violate, and you dared to speak up for yourself. I'm proud of you means I feel good because of what you have done, or I take credit for your accomplishment. When they say, how can you be that way after all I have done for you? It means I abused you for most of your life, and now I resent you standing up to me. When they say, I don't want to burden you, it means I am going to burden you and make you feel guilty if you don't comply. All right, well, we're halfway into the show, so I'm going to take a brief break. I will continue this discussion immediately following the 1-minute musical interlude featuring the band Love Shadow's song, There's a Better Way. Enjoy, stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Welcome back to today's discussion. This is episode 2 of Narcissistic Personality Disorder. Before the break, I was talking about some expressions that narcissistic parents use. Now I'm going to go into the topic of narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parents have many or all the same traits and characteristics as all those with personality disorders do, at a variety of levels of cruelty. But since the abuse is directed at children, it is particularly cruel-hearted, hazardous, and destructive. As a result of being raised in an unpredictable, inconsistent environment, children grow up with no foundation, no emotional stability, and no sense of safety. They never know what to expect from minute to minute or when the next surprise attack will come. Narcissistic parents are untrustworthy. Nothing given to the child, emotional or otherwise, is ever given permanently. One false move and the child can lose everything. I just described my entire childhood and that of my 2 sisters. We were raised in a highly abusive, dysfunctional household under the thumb of a narcissistic mother and an enabling father. The damage lasted for decades after we left. Narcissistic parents cannot see that their children are individuals with their own traits, needs, and talents. These children are never accepted for who they are. They are merely projection screens for the parents. There are 2 categories of narcissistic parents: engulfing parents and ignoring parents. Both types are equally damaging to their children. Some parents will flip-flop back between the 2. Some will treat one child one way and the other child another. Engulfing parents see their children as extensions of themselves, not as separate people. No boundaries exist between parent and child. This is not a problem for infants and toddlers because at those young ages, they have not yet separated from their parents. The problem begins when the child tries to forge an identity, which usually happens in the adolescent and teenage years. Engulfing parents resent their children for pulling away, forming close friendships, and having a mind of their own. They are envious of anything that takes the child away from them and will make it very difficult for the child to go through these natural developmental stages. My mother was an engulfing mother who made my sisters and my lives a living hell as we each reached adolescence and began to pull away. Engulfing parents use three primary tactics to keep their children close: parentification, infantilization, and triangulation. Parentification is the reversal of the parent-child roles. The roles become reversed. Instead of the parent taking care of the child and their responsibilities at home, the child is expected to take care of the parent, the household, and their siblings. The needs of the parent come before everyone and everything else. As a result of the parent's immaturity, the child's needs are neglected, and he loses his entire childhood. Infantilization is the practice of treating a child as if they are much younger than their age. It is a brainwashing tactic that the parent uses out of fear of abandonment to ensure the child stays immature and dependent upon them. They feel threatened by their child's healthy growth towards independence, therefore try to undermine it whenever they can. The third tactic is called triangulation. Triangulation is a manipulation tactic used by parents to control the balance of power in the family. The parent acts as a go-between with the family members to control the way information flows between them, what is said, and the interpretation of it. They get to decide what everyone hears. They pit siblings against each other by telling them each something different and talking to one about the other. They will also tell one sibling something in hopes that it gets back to the others. This creates tension and mistrust between family members. My mother did this for years until my sisters and I caught on to her. She would tell each of us something in confidence and tell us not to tell our sisters. But once we began comparing the conversations we had with her, we realized that we always got three different versions of the same subject matter. So that's engulfing parents. The other category of parents with NPD is ignoring parents. Ignoring parents don't care much about their children and don't pretend to care. They clearly see the boundaries between parent and child and feel a wide divide. The message they give their children is that the children do not matter. They will often ignore the basic needs of their children, send them to school with dirty clothes, fail to teach them proper hygiene, not get them medical care. The child of an ignoring parent knows that they are unloved. The parents make that very clear. My mother had some of those traits too, and she was very specific with who she used them on. And I'll get into the roles that she assigns her children in a little while. So child abuse perpetrated by parents with NPD may be subtle or obvious, covert or overt. Either way, the harm done is painfully unjust, heartless, and cruel. Their abuse is emotional, psychological, and neglectful, and it is never witnessed by the outside world. These children suffer a very difficult life and become severely damaged as a result of it. I can attest to that. I suffered well into my 40s, and my two sisters suffered into their 50s and 60s. The three of us are in different stages in our healing process, but all three of us still find our mother's behavior confusing, unpredictable, and cruel. Part of what makes it confusing is that she can be kind when it serves her well to be that way. All narcissists do that, but it never lasts. Just when they have you where they want you, they will attack you again. My mother is 85, and her behavior is no worse or better than it ever was. The difference is that my sisters and I all live in 3 different states, none of which my parents reside, and we have our own lives. Oh, and the other major difference is that we are now onto her wily, manipulative ways. The child of an NPD parent is considered an extension of that parent. Their job is to realize the unfulfilled dreams, fantasies, and wishes of that parent. Not only does the child need to fulfill the parent's wishes, he needs to conform to them too. The parent feels entitled to mold the child into the ideal image of whatever they want that child to be. The child is expected to perform to the parent's standards, though those standards are ever-changing and never clear. They believe that they own the child. Whatever they do for the child is considered a sacrifice, so the child always has a debt to pay. Whatever the child achieves is owned by the parents too. Perhaps it was the parents' constant nagging or urging that got the child there, or maybe it was the parents' genes or talents that made the success possible. And the achievements only matter if they please the parent or give them something to brag about. It's always about them. Narcissistic parents objectify their children. The children's needs and concerns are always ranked below the needs and concerns of the parents. Parents with this narcissistic personality disorder do not regard their children as people in their own rights or as individuals. If they become disenchanted with their child for breaking the unwritten contract they have with them, they feel entitled to abuse them. The child is interchangeable. The child does not matter. Since the NPD parent needs their children for narcissistic supply, they'll do whatever it takes to perpetuate that dependence. The NPD parent utilizes a variety of control tactics to accomplish that. They may use all of them, a few of them, or one of them. The first tactic I'll talk about is control through the creation of codependency. This codependent control, also known as narcissistic attachment, is about creating a dependent relationship between parent and child so the parent can remain the center of the child's universe. The parent tells the child that they need them and can't live without them. The child has no autonomy from the parent, only total enmeshment. That is what my mother did to me. Even as an adult, I did not know where I let off, and she began. The second control tactic that may be used is guilt. The parent makes the child feel as if they are forever obligated to them by using phrases such as, "Look what I've done for you. I've sacrificed everything for you. I've given my life for you." This tactic keeps the child behaving in a way that keeps the parent happy. My mother used this one all the time. The third control tactic that may be used involves threat and anger. The child is made to understand in no uncertain terms that if they do not adhere to the rules, beliefs, opinions, and orders of the NPD parent, the punishment will be harsh. The child can never relax. If they make one false move, their parent will become enraged and assault them. My mother controlled me and my sisters with this tactic too. I can still remember the frightening face she made. It was contorted when she would fly into her narcissistic rages. The fourth tactic is the withdrawal of love. It is emotional blackmail. The parent tries to create subservience in the child by showing the child love, kindness, and indulgence, and then yanking it all away if the child doesn't behave the way they're expected to, or please the parent the way they want to be pleased. The message the child receives from the parent is, "I will only love you if you do everything my way." This distortion of love creates confusion in the child. They're told they're being loved, but it doesn't feel like love. And the child becomes insecure with their relationship with the parent because of the unpredictable fluctuation between love and rejection. Yep, Mom enjoyed this one too. The fifth tactic NPD parents may use to control their children is known as covert incest or emotional incest. This is about the opposite sex parent making the child fulfill their unmet adult needs. The relationship is sexualized but not sexual, but still devastating to the child's emotional health. Even though it does not involve physical or sexual contact, this tactic is very harmful to the child. The effects are similar, though less severe, than incestuous sexual child abuse. Thank God my father never used this tactic on us. It's no wonder that children who are raised by parents with narcissistic personality disorder feel confused, insecure, vulnerable, worthless, and powerless. They are subjected to horrific levels of abuse that leaves them terrified, rejected, isolated, and abandoned. These children grow up without a solid foundation. Narcissistic parents are very vindictive. They use vindictiveness as a way to hurt or destroy the source of their pain and frustration, which is often their family. Some people with this disorder are prone to violence. They are also prone to abusing others physically and emotionally, especially those closest to them. The biggest consequence of narcissism was suffering endured by people closest to them. We've run out of time, but I have a great deal more to share with you, 4 more episodes to be exact. So be sure to tune in and listen to the rest of this series. Tomorrow, episode 3, I'm going to finish discussing the characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder. I will continue discussing the dynamics of parent-child abuse, and then I will talk about the portrait of the narcissistic personality disorder family. If you have any comments about today's show or any other shows, feel free to email me at afinetimeforhealing@randigfine.com, randigfine.com. Stop by my website, randigfine.com, and sign the guest book. I welcome feedback about my shows, so you can leave comments for me there as well. Please stop by to visit me on my Facebook page, Randi G. Fine, and like me. My page is filled with inspirational picture quotes that you can enjoy, get inspiration from, and share with others. If you enjoy listening to my shows, please become a show follower. More followers will get this show the recognition that it deserves. Visit my blog at randigfine.com for even more inspiration and join the list of devoted followers there. All my shows are archived after broadcasting and can be listened to at your convenience on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, or through the show links on my website. Thanks again for tuning in and listening to A Fine Time for Healing. This is talk radio show host and author Randi Fine, signing off until next time. May joy and serenity always be yours. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. You can find out more about Randi at her website, randigfine, randigfine.com. Join her next time for more of A Fine Time for Healing.
Hard not to hesitate, but we can't wait to be